people are taking pictures of themselves. A selfie means you want to be in it. No matter whatever else and whoever else is around, you too want to be on display. One of the things God said to his people is, don't take any pictures of me. Don't even try it. You shall make no image of the living God. God only took one selfie in history. His name is Jesus Christ. That's God's selfie. He said, don't make any image of me, because anything you make that you think looks like me will only distort me. Your pictures will be bad photographs. That'd be like the photographs you used to take at the mall in those little booths with the curtain. You sit down there and click, 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 4 photographs would then come out of the machine. Don't show those pictures to nobody, because those will not be complimentary photographs. They're a cheap reflection of who you are in most cases. God says, don't have any image of me, because in attempting to picture me, you will distort who I am. And any distortion of me is idolatry. It is idolatry. We live in an idol-saturated society, although sophisticated. Remember that an idol is any person, place, thing, or thought that you look to as your source. It is any person, place, thing, or thought, any noun that you put beside God or in front of him. You can always know what your God is by what comes first. Love the Lord your God first. Anything else put first in competition with or in front of the God of the Bible is idolatry. Now, I know in our culture we live in the culture of the American idol. Sophisticated idols. But idols come in all shapes, in all sizes, and all forms. And they're always designed to compete with God and draw us from God. Idols have one overriding purpose: to compete with God and to override God. Idols are used by demons to draw us from the living God, as he brings about competitive forces to steer us from the truth and devolve us in our lifestyles, in our decision making. Virtually everything wrong in our lives that continues to devolve us over time, even though it may have started out looking okay, is because whatever that thing was or is has become an idol. It has become, unbeknownst to most of us, an object of worship. Or because he's not one of your more popular figures in Scripture. But in 2 Chronicles chapter 33, we're told about Manasseh. I don't care how bad you have been or are, you're probably not as bad as Manasseh. That's the good news. It goes south from there. First of all, we're told in verse 1 of 2 Chronicles 33, Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. So Manasseh is 12 years old, and what that means when you're 12 years old and you become king, it means they elected him to be the future king, so he comes in as a co-regent or co-king with his daddy. Now, to appreciate the story of Manasseh, you have to understand he was raised in a godly home. Manasseh was raised right. A summary of Manasseh's daddy is given in chapter 29 of 2 Chronicles, and his daddy's name was Hezekiah. Hezekiah, verse 1 of chapter 29 says, became king when he was 25 years old, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. Verse 2, and he did right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father David had done. In the first year of his reign, in the first month, he opened the doors of the house of the Lord and repaired them. He brought in the priests and the Levites and gathered them in the square on the east. And he said to them, listen to me, O Levites, consecrate yourselves now, consecrate the house of the Lord, the God of your fathers, and carry the uncleanness out from the holy place. Hezekiah is Manasseh's father. He was raised by this kind of daddy. He was raised by a father who loved God, who served God, who wanted to obey God, and who brought the people around him to take God seriously. But not his baby boy, Manasseh. Because we find out in verse 2 of chapter 33, he did evil in the sight of the Lord, according to the abominations of the nations whom the Lord dispossessed before the sons of Israel. So Hezekiah's daddy was a great godly man, but his baby boy, Manasseh, went left, way left, according to the abomination of the nations that were surrounding him. So let's picture Manasseh. He's growing up. He's having devotions with his daddy. His daddy's taking him to temple. He's getting all this godly stuff put in him. And then along the way, he looks out and sees all the folks around him. It says all the nations, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the termites. I mean, he's seeing all the nations around him. And he sees these nations living it up. He sees these nations in all kind of stuff. It becomes attractive to him. God calls them abominations, but he calls them what's happening now. God calls them evil, but it looked like fun to him. So he adopted their worldview in God's place. Okay, you say, well, that's good, but that doesn't relate to me. Okay, for everybody here that was raised by a grandmother or a mother who prayed for you, made you go to church on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, no, on Sunday you had to go to service, then you had the afternoon service, and then you had the night service. I mean, they Bibled you to death. They just, the dog was Christian in your house. They just overwhelmed you with Christian stuff. And then you went to college. You went to college and you found out, I don't have to go to church no more. And then you looked at all the folk from all the other places, all the other towns, all the other cities, all the other houses, and they were having a good time. Grandmama calling you, I'm praying for you. Well, that's nice. You keep praying, but I'm getting my thing on. Because I see what's happening in the environment all around me. And it looks like they're having more fun than I am, having more joy than I am. I'm looking at all the things around me and I have become attracted to them. And as a result of that, I pick up their habits. I pick up their worldview. I pick up their thinking. What I was made to feel bad about in the house that I grew up in, I don't feel that bad about in college. What was shameful back then, not that bad right now, because everybody around me has adopted that lifestyle, and I'm no longer accountable to the world in which I possibly was raised. So Manasseh decides to incorporate the worldview of the society that surrounded him rather than the godliness in which he was reared. So that's how he decides to operate, and he is now the king. Well, what did he do? Verse 3 tells us, he rebuilt the high places which Hezekiah his father had broken down. That is, the idol worship centers. He also erected altars for the Baals, idols, and made Asherim. He made more idols. And worshiped all the hosts of heaven and served them. Oh, but it gets worse. Verse 4. He built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord had said, my name shall be in Jerusalem forever. So, wait a minute. Number one, he goes out and he adopts the idols of the culture. That's number one. But then, according to verse 4, he brought the idols of the culture into the house of God. He brought them to church with him. He's in the house of God because you want to be close enough to God that it looks like you're worshiping for real. But while you're looking like you're worshiping for real, because you're in the house of God, where the sermons are being preached and songs are being sung and they doing the Christian thing, but you got that culture up all in you. You got that world all up in you. You got that secularism all up in you, and you bring that with you to the house of God. Well, the only reason you bring it with you to the house of God is because you had it outside of the house of God, and you just can't leave it when you walk.